So, so, uh, so, sorry for that. So, welcome for today's lecture. Today we are talking about the historical background of postmodern literature, and this is more so about stories. So it might be not too interesting, but at least you can get some things that will guide you, yeah, when analyzing the text that I will prescribe in this unit. So let's start by the 20th century literature, that now the historical background. So one, it was there was the reason why it developed. One is because of the increasing instability of society, because of the war, and so on and so forth. Then we had the imperialism as the reawakening of the denominating spirit, that is imperial federation. Then we had an absence of general accepted view of life. Then we had a bewildering variety of intellectual and material influence. Then we had a reaction against Victorianism, then the actual overlapping of old and new ideas. Then we had rapid advance of applied science. Then, then we had now the effects after World War II, and the effects were the loss of generation, depression, new naturalism, the anti-utopianism, and fear. Then the effects after World War II, again we had dissolution, dissatisfaction, we had alienation, and we had different literary works that maybe I can mention here, but again we can look at them, when we be talk in the next lecture. But we had the fiction, and then we had different types of fiction. We had the pop novels, scientific novels, individual self and nature. Then we had imaginism is becoming a trend of the British and American poetic movement. Then we had the stream of consciousness, then the flow of thoughts of the working mind. Then we had depression. Some books or some works, they were generally expressing depression, because it was a slum in the world of economy. Then we had the new naturalism, then the combination of realism and romance. We had disillusion and the angry young men, that is dissatisfaction and alienation against middle class levels, values, sorry, and release of working class energies. Then we had beat generation, the mild 50s disconnect against square society. Then we have the hippie movement. This is a revolution in consciousness through drugs and orientation and oriental religions, op- opposed traditional customer values, that is more of politics and most of the political value of it. Then we have the existentialism, that is describing some loosely connected philosophical ideas which assert the unique and the particular in human experience and the ability of individuals to be what he or she chooses to be. Then we had subconscious, not fully known, understood by the mind in its conscious working, present at the hidden level of mind. Then we had the anti-utopianism and fear. This is the economic depression and threat of totalitarianism, from both fascism and communism. This is a mass culture was seen to be manipulated through technology for political and social and commercial reasons. Then we have the Orwellianism. This touched the nerve of the wider public in Britain and the USA. It's a system of bureaucracy where the organization should complete its own organs systematically. Then we had black literature, the production of literature by the black, about the issues, or rather the challenges they went through, maybe which is racism, depression, so on and so forth. Then we had feminism, the reform movement of England in England and the USA, which aimed at the social, educational, and political equality of women with men, began in the late 18th century. So that's where now the role of women in the society, and the feminists wanted their work to be felt as women and not be discussed by the male. So, what about now the poetry? Because that was more so of novels. So, what about the poetry? So, an exhausted post 1918 world was suspicious of all manifestations of authority that is anti heroic. Then we had the revolt against notions of action, of assertion, and will. Then we have the hostility to urban and industrial ugliness, materialism, and contemporary English life. Then we have the effects of war, modernism, humanity seen as part of natural world, imaginism, and then the free verse. So what about the now in the prose we had now the fiction, that's now the realism and naturalism, detective and crime stories. Then novel, the effects of war, and you have talked about them. Then short stories, when the history and biography, even when the essays. Then drama, drama, like the works of maybe the George uh, Bernard Shaw, 1856 to 1950, and John Gasworth, 1867 to 1933. Then we had Sir James Matthew. Then we had Williams. We had Thomas J.B. Christopher Fry, John, Arnold, Harold, Samuel, and so on and so forth. So, for today's lecture, I really wanted us to at least to grasp something about the historical background of uh, postmodern theory. When did it start? How did it start? And we have said as a result of the Second World War, which brought dissolution, depression. That's why now the works, or rather the writers made their works to write about maybe their disappointment and so on and so forth. So for this unit, maybe the next lecture, I will introduce you to more so the main works in the postmodern literature, the writers who have wrote nice and interesting books. Actually, I'm eager to see your presentation, because after I will do the introduction and we shall discuss what's there in the postmodern literature. I will assign you in your respective groups to do research, and we will do presentation of different works that I will give you. Yeah, and I'm waiting to see your presentation, because they are nice, interesting books that I will prescribe for you, because they are interesting novels, plays, short stories, and when you are reading these novels, please um, bear in mind the historical part. For example, the ones that you have talked, maybe in poetry, what is there about the hostility, modernism, humanity. And if maybe I give you a novel, I go and maybe analyze um, the main things that are, or rather the main issues discussed in that novel. For example, mostly we shall be dealing with maybe novels that maybe they'll be having black humor. How will you identify black humor in those novels? So I've said so. I beg to end my session at this point. Maybe you have any question, because I cannot see any chats in the chat in the class. So maybe everything was understood. So next week I will prescribe the novels that we'll do, and we'll do the presentation of the same. So next week, come prepared. Yeah. So I've said so. Have a nice weekend. See you next week.